There are 48 symptoms of menopause, and they can show up in any combination at any stage for the rest of your life after perimenopause begins. So why are we still treating it as one experience with one set of solutions? In this episode, Anna Butterworth of Ultraviolet Agency introduces the first 3 of the 5 menopause archetypes from her Future of Menopause 2035 report. The Peri Prepper who's preparing a decade early, the seeker who wants holistic wellness backed by hard data, and the high performer who needs discreet, fast-acting solutions that won't derail her career. This is pattern recognition for menopause, and it changes how you think about what you actually need.
Welcome back to Biohacking Eve, Health Optimization for Women with Judith Miller, where we shine a light on everything that will help you reach your best self as a woman, as unique and individual as only you can be. Live long and prosper, my friend. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode. Today we have Anna Butterworth on the show, who is the founder of Ultraviolet Agency, publishing foresight and trend reports on women's health and femtech, mapping how biology, behavior, culture, and care systems are evolving and where they're failing women currently. So today, Anna and I will talk about a report of the Future of Menopause 2035. Now, menopause is still treated as a single experience with generic solutions, yet in reality, it shows up in very different patterns, which is why so many women feel missed by standard advice. Today, we'll focus on 5 menopause archetypes: the Peri Prepper, the seeker, the high performer, the postmenopausal visionary, and the uninformed endurer. And for each, we'll cover who they are, how they tend to live, how they behave when symptoms show up, and where the biggest pain points sit. So think of this as pattern recognition for menopause: less guesswork, better targeting, and aiming for clarity without reductionism.
That was a brilliant introduction, Judith. Thank you so much. Yes, really excited to share these with you. When we wrote the Future of Menopause 2035, it became abundantly clear that there were these new consumers and new ways of looking at women, new ways for women to express themselves at this life stage. So this is the first time we've done an archetypes framework, and it's already been phenomenally popular. And actually, I think this is really going to change the way that we think about the menopausal consumer going forward. What you'll see in the Future of Menopause report is that there is going to be a big cultural shift and a big social shift in how we think about older women, how we think about aging. And so this is really reflecting that. And this is going to allow businesses to prepare for this future consumer and make sure that we're building for her and not for something that we think we're going to need going forward. So it came out of a clear need, really. And I'm very excited to be sharing it with you today. So thank you so much, Judith. Let's get stuck in. So yes, the 5 key archetypes. What was really interesting is, I think for a lot of people, menopause has felt like something that happens to old women, right? It's not something that we necessarily feel particularly engaged with when we're younger, but that's really shifting. And we're seeing that most clearly with this new archetype called the Peri Prepper. Now, she is somebody who has been tracking her cycle for a long time. Perhaps she's been using cycle tracking apps or fertility methods to get pregnant, to try not to get pregnant, to track her pregnancy, to track her cycle. Perhaps she's been harnessing her menstrual cycle for her productivity, for her exercise, for her health and well-being, for her nutrition. She's really clear on how her menstrual cycle impacts her life. She's incredibly literate in her health and well-being. She really knows how to advocate for herself. And although she's in her mid-30s, she understands that perimenopause is coming. It's not happening just yet, but it's coming. And there are certain things that she can do to really make sure that she prepares for it in the right way, physiologically, emotionally, and also psychologically as well. What she's doing, the Peri Prepper looks at all of these things. She starts to restructure her training programs, her physical training programs, her nutrition and supplementation to make sure that when she does hit perimenopause, it's a much easier and smoother transition. Because I think one of the things that's been happening for decades, really, and for centuries, since we took women's health out of the core value of the medical system, Perimenopause symptoms tend to come as a bit of a surprise. Often the first symptoms are things like anxiety, stress, poor sleep, physical changes, maybe a bit of weight gain, maybe a bit of thinning hair, but these aren't really concrete things that say, I'm entering the menopause. So it's often symptoms that people end up dealing with and trying to manage and trying to mask, and not really understanding that these are all part of a very normal and very expected hormonal change and fluctuation. Now, through education, through understanding our health and well-being, as millennials begin to age into the menopause, they're going to be armed with this extra piece of knowledge about how their body works, understand where the changes are happening, and will be able to begin tracking those much, much earlier. So this Peri Prepper is a brand new consumer, and she's going to be looking at perimenopausal supplements, products, tools, services much earlier than ever before. So she is prepared and it doesn't come as a surprise. Now, when we're looking at what her needs are, we've got lots of these positive ways, right? Lots of these positive opportunities and structures that we can begin to implement. But some of the challenges that she's seeing, so when we write our archetypes, we've got a pretty straightforward structure. You understand the biography of this person, her demographics, and how she's moving through the world. We also cover pain points, the actions that you can do as a business, either in product development or in your structural changes, new product pipelines and services that you can deliver, and how we can build new structures either within businesses or within culture to be able to really support and accommodate this new consumer. So we'll start to look at her pain points first. The first is that we're still looking for opportunities. We're still looking to be able to meet her needs. Right now, there aren't a huge number of products and services that meet her needs. So although she is very much aware that this is happening, if she goes to her doctor or her GP and says, I know that perimenopause is coming and I want to prepare for it, really, they are not equipped yet to be able to support this person, right? They'll say, you're too young, you're 35, you're 38. You don't need to be thinking about this just yet. And she absolutely does. If she can prepare, if she can put in the work now, she can really make sure that she has got a much smoother transition going forward. It can be a little bit difficult and overwhelming. Right now, a lot of the tools and services that we have, the apps and products, really rely very heavily on input. They rely very heavily on education. And it can be quite challenging for that person to be able to juggle. Often, if you're in your late 30s, you'll have a growing family, your work is getting much busier, you're starting to accelerate in your career, you've got aging parents. There's this compounding factor of being a woman in this world at the moment that makes it incredibly difficult to be able to juggle all of these things. So making sure that we build tools that make it not just easy, but actually support her in ways that perhaps she wouldn't necessarily already understand. Right now, we're still putting a lot of onus on the woman to put these things in place and to be looking after herself. And really what we want is for these tools to be feeding her information before she really needs it, right? To be telling her the sorts of things that she needs to be thinking about and looking out for before she needs to start thinking about those things. Those things can be quite challenging. Making sure that we have really reliable information and educational tools for her so she knows that the information that she's absorbing is accurate. Now, this is a trend that we're talking about across all of our reports, across every single part of women's health, and that is education and health literacy. Because as we move into the AI slop era, it's really difficult to decipher the truth from the potentially unvalidated opinions. If we're being a little bit careful about how we talk about this has always been a challenge of people having health opinions that potentially are unvalidated, even in women's health, when we have so little clinical data and so little clinical research. It makes it extra difficult, right? And extra challenging. And then as we move into AI slop era, it's going to make it even that much harder. So making sure that she has reliable information about premenopausal hormonal changes is going to be absolutely vital, right? Making sure that we are putting those mental health challenges first and foremost is going to be absolutely vital, because those are often the symptoms that appear first when it comes to perimenopause, and the ones that are often harder to identify. Self-esteem challenges, anxiety, brain fog, those are the ones that tend to slip under the radar. So making sure she has awareness, that she's aware of all those and she understands what they are really early on. Now, what she's looking for in terms of technology and product preferences, this is really about making sure that we can bring her personalized tools, right? She's been tracking her cycle and inputting all of this data for probably 10, 20 years by this point. There's a lot that we can be doing with that information, making sure that we are very careful with data and privacy protection. But there is a lot that we can be doing with that information to make sure that we understand the sorts of symptoms that might be affecting her. Menopause has got 48 symptoms that we've identified. And they range from the physiological, the physical, the emotional, across the board. And that's not even beginning the cultural implications, which we will get onto as well. But those women can experience any number of those 48 symptoms in different combinations over the course of the rest of her life. If we begin perimenopause in our early 40s, we're likely spending the rest of our life either in perimenopause or postmenopause, right? So it's incredibly important that we understand the sorts of symptoms that she's likely to get so she can be aware of them and help mitigate for those early on. And you could have potentially all 48 at different points in different combinations over the course of the next 40, 50 years, which is just really fun to think about. And or you might have very few and it might be really easy and really straightforward for you, which is fantastic. But making sure that she understands what those 48 are and how those different combinations might impact her, and making sure that we help support her through personalization and prevention tools. Also making sure that we build hybrid ecosystems that blend digital tools with physical experiences. A lot of the impacts are physical, right? We talk in the report about entering menopause mode, which is both a physical setting that you can put on your AC, on your technology, to make sure that you are effectively managing some of the physical symptoms and physiological symptoms of the menopause, reducing glare, natural light, making sure that's temperature controlled, all of those sorts of things. It sounds really simple, but those things can really make a difference. Then there are a lot of digital tools that you can use as well to make sure that we're tracking mental health, emotional well-being, etc. But making sure that we have that physical aspect as well, because this is very much an emotional and a physical experience. We've also talked about having access to coaches, experts, real people with real expertise that can impart knowledge. So through our archetypes framework, you'll see lots of recommendations on how you can position your brand, the kind of tone of voice that you can use, and the types of things that she's going to be looking for from brands, yes, from a product perspective, but also from an emotional and engagement perspective as well. How she wants to be spoken to, how she wants to be reached. All these things will change as she begins to enter the menopause. And there's lots in here about how you can really understand her needs. There will have recommendations on the types of products and services that you can develop, as well as the different structural changes. So lots of early intervention solutions and personalization engines, transition prep product. So that could be subscription boxes, subscription tools, vitamins, nutritional supplements that she can begin to engage with to make sure that she has a really easy, smoother transition. And all of this can be supported through some of those personalization tools that we talked about as well. So making sure that you have emotional health integration and longevity integration will be absolutely vital. Then when we think about the structures, we need to think about how this is manifesting in businesses, how this is manifesting in the world, in our societal realm as well. So looking at ways that we can think about how we talk about the menopause in the workplace. In the report, you'll see one of the trends is the wisdom workforce. So really looking at how we engage with much, much older women as they are thinking about transitioning, not necessarily out of the workforce, but transitioning into a different phase of their work, and really making sure that we meet her needs and we understand what different ways she can work to make sure that, one, she can stay and work longer if she wants to, which is incredibly important from an economic perspective, but also so that she can feel supported and engaged, and we're not just all sitting on pensions the rest of our lives, and we have something meaningful that we can contribute to. Now, the Peri Prepper is going to be looking at how you're engaging with your older women in your workforce and deciding, is this somewhere that I want to be putting in the next 10, 20 years, or are they not taking care of their older women, and I'm going to go somewhere where they really do have the policies and the engagement that will support me as I get older. So all of that talent retention is going to be incredibly important, how you frame your business for this consumer. including leadership positioning as well. So that is the Peri Prepper in a nutshell. Because this is a 10-year report, we're still seeing very early signals of these. There are very few brands that are thinking about this consumer right now. And that's the goal of building this archetypes, is to get people thinking about it. And that is our Peri Prepper in a nutshell. Now, thinking about the seeker's a little bit older. She's 40 to 45. She's still perimenopausal, perhaps very early postmenopausal. And this is very much your curious, introspective person. She really focuses on self-discovery, spiritual wellness. She is incredibly family-focused, and she's really looking at her menopausal journey as this holistic journey of self-discovery. It's about, how can I look at this through my mind, body, and spirit? She's really interested in alternative therapies, acupuncture, yoga, meditation, those sorts of things. She really reads extensively about longevity and how her mind and the mind-body connection. And she's really looking for brands and businesses that can help support her spiritually, but with rigorous, validated clinical data as well. And that's what makes her a really interesting consumer. And this is not a unique consumer to menopause. This is a consumer that you'll see popping up in lots of different places within women's health. But it's really interesting to see, and that's what we've done with our archetypes framework, is look at how this is manifesting in the menopause space specifically. What types of wellness philosophies is she looking for? What types of forums or experiences will she want to engage with? Where is she looking for her supplements? Where is she looking for her diet? What kinds of tools is she trying to build in her arsenal as she is progressing through this life stage? Because I think, as I mentioned in the Peri Prepper, there are 48 symptoms, and you can have a combination of any number of these that will change as you move through each menopausal stage. So your hormones are fluctuating, your life is changing a little bit. And so each of these things can manifest slightly differently. So making sure that you are constantly learning and constantly iterating and looking at how all of these different stages are impacting you and where the different symptoms might be impacting you is going to be really important. And the way the seeker does this is through very much holistic wellness tools and framework. Now, her biggest pain points are the fact that while she wants this to be very much a natural experience, she wants this to be grounded in clinical data. She wants to make sure that what she's using is rigorously tested and is going to be the right thing for her. Now, for everyone, there's going to be a little bit of trial and error because everybody responds differently, but that's also where some digital tools and technologies can really support her. So some of her biggest pain points are the fact that she's not feeling particularly seen at the moment with some of the digital tools that are very metric-led and very data-led. She really wants to understand, what are the qualitative implications of this data? How is this impacting me as an individual? What are the things that I can do now to naturally support myself before? She's not always completely opposed to a medical route or HRT, but she just wants to make sure that she's done everything she possibly can before she moves into a medical space, right? And that includes using diet, lifestyle, supplements, wellness tools to make sure that she is supporting herself in a range of different ways. She's often, as she begins to age through the menopause, she might be feeling emotional turbulence and low energy. She's not feeling like there are professionals that are meeting her really where she's at just yet, because they're either really medical data-led or they're a little bit too spiritual on the other side, and she wants to find something that really meets her in the middle. So finding something that is both tailored to her, that will support her physically, emotionally, and spiritually is going to be really important. Some of the things that she's looking for, she's not adverse to digital technologies, but she wants to make sure that they have this qualitative as well. So AI-driven tools and digital mentors that can give her tailored advice that support her will be really important through clear evidence-backed insights into the menopause and longevity. That's really where she sits, and looking at how we can build really interesting tools and technologies for her is going to be fantastic. I'm really excited to work with people on this. We're beginning to understand a little bit more about nutrition and mindful practices and how they impact hormones. So that's really what she'd like to understand. making sure that it's paired with practical lifestyle focused information is going to be really important. We've got some fantastic recommendations of how you can speak to her as a brand, the type of tone and positioning that she's looking for that integrates both this spiritual and medical framework. Some of the products and services we can be looking at for her will be integrative wellness platforms that are both AI driven and personalized and build in this lovely wellness holistic vision as well. Through her personalized wellness journey, she'll also be looking for physical retreats, opportunities to connect with other people going through this in a like-minded way. So any kind of ritualization, mind-body products, physical spaces that she can enter is going to be really important. And across the board, this is a trend that we're seeing even right now, right? We've been isolated through technology, and I think we can anticipate that particularly with the rise of AI, we're going to be even more isolated in certain ways. So building physical spaces where people can connect with like-minded individuals. And also, from my perspective, I'd love more physical spaces where we meet with non-like-minded individuals as well, and we can build relationships there. I think that's incredibly important. That's a sidebar, not related to our archetypes, but I also think that's incredibly important. Anyway, back to the seeker. She's looking for simplified, trustworthy guidance, platforms that filter conflicting advice. Again, this AI stuff is going to be incredibly challenging to overcome. So if we can use these tools to bridge conventional medicine with holistic natural approaches in a validated way that is delivered by validated brands, platforms, individuals, that's going to be incredibly important. And then looking at structures, she is looking for, hybrid models between the digital and physical. She's looking for online platforms that also have the in-depth impact of in-person retreats and mentorship circles, looking at ways that businesses can collaborate with insurers, with well-being providers to give more options to their employees that offer a broader range of services is going to be really impactful. And again, if we're looking at retention, if we're looking for long-term growth with an aging population, it's going to be incredibly important that we look at alternative ways that we can support these women. It's going to be incredibly important, as I said, for evidence-based branding across the board, building authority and making sure your recommendations, your products and pathways have got reputable research behind them is going to be incredibly important. And finally, looking at flexible and personalized experiences, so ways that she can engage with these things in a way that is useful for her. She's still incredibly busy. She's got a job. She's got a family. She's, again, probably aging parents. If she's still got parents, they're going to be even older and requiring a lot more of her time and energy. So making sure that we make this really easy and something that she can fit into her lifestyle is also going to be incredibly important. Okay, and so our third archetype is the high performer. Now, she is a powerhouse, right? She is in her mid to late 40s, early 50s. She has been at the peak of her career for decades, right? She is in corporate. She works incredibly hard. She spent a long time building her career and making sure that she is achieving everything that she possibly can, personally, professionally, and emotionally. She's incredibly ambitious and goal-oriented, and she really values efficiency and productivity, right? Those are the things that really matter to her because she's incredibly busy. She has a lot of responsibilities at home and in the professional space, and she wants to make sure that her lifestyle is built around that. Quite fast-paced. She's moving. It's very physical, moving from place to place, delivering talks, managing large teams, building her corporate career. And she needs to make sure that she has the tools to support her in that. And what can be very challenging for the high performer, menopause can be an incredibly challenging period, right? Bloomberg announced that we're losing $150 billion globally due to menopause-related symptoms, right? So that's people leaving the workforce or underperforming at work because of menopause-related symptoms. And that impacts the high performer incredibly. And she really doesn't want to be one of those statistics because this is what really matters to her. She wants to continue to deliver at the same level that she's been delivering for a long time. She's not interested in stepping back. She's not interested in cutting her work. This has been her dream and her career for a long time, and she wants to maintain that. So she's looking for products and therapies and technologies that support high-functioning lifestyles. She's looking for things with science-based, health-backed deliveries and tools. She has disposable income and she's willing to pay for premium solutions. And she's looking for things that can help support her across the board, from her sleep to productivity, physical health, so that she can continue to maintain this high pressure lifestyle. Some of her biggest challenges are the fact that she does work in a very corporate environment and it is still male dominated. It's very difficult to talk about your menopausal symptoms when in an environment where people are not necessarily aware, and perhaps still culturally menopause is seen as a weakness and not something that you can harness. Although you'll see from our report, we do talk about this being a new cultural shift where we'll begin to see and understand the menopause slightly differently. But right now, she's still seeing some of these old stigmas resonating through her work life, and she's still not super keen to share her personal health journeys with her colleagues. And she's never really done it before. She's not really interested in doing it now. It's something that she wants to be able to manage in her own time without it really impacting her work. Some of her biggest challenges are things like hot flashes, fatigue, and brain fog. Brain fog is one of the biggest challenges for corporate women going through the menopause. Just because you can't remember your colleague's name, it doesn't mean that you can't be trusted with this big client pitch, right? It's something that we have to understand, we have to manage, and we can build tools and solutions to support her with those things as well. Some of the things that she feels is lacking still is she wants more discreet and high quality solutions. She's really happy to pay for a premium product that is discreet, that can support her through these things. Whether it is a physical product, a service, a solution, a mentor, a guide, she's willing to throw money at the situation to make sure that she feels physically and emotionally supported as she goes through this. Things like hot flushes, we're starting to see some interesting products emerge in that space. They're still a little bit clunky. They're still not super discreet. But there are things happening. But there are a lot of other physical symptoms as well that would be really fantastic to be dealing with at the moment. She doesn't want things like sleeplessness to impact her work performance. So finding all of these solutions that will help make sure she can continue to deliver at a high level are going to be really important. This is a consumer that is really interested in effective, fast-acting, science-backed solutions. So where the seeker will be happy to test and iterate and try a few wellness tools over the course of a period of time to see what works and understands that it might take a little bit of time for something to take effect. The high performer has no time for that. She wants something that's going to work immediately and she can continue to use and rely on as she goes forward. She wants data-driven precision health tools that provide actionable insights, like sleep optimization, cognitive performance analytics. And we're going to see a really big shift. The cognition piece is going to be a huge market going forward. How we think about supporting women through this cognitive change, and then also through prevention of cognitive decline. Women are more likely to experience dementia and Alzheimer's than men, and that's partly due to the menopause. It's due to these hormonal fluctuations that happen earlier on. If we start mitigating things like brain fog early on, we can help mitigate those things like dementia and cognitive decline going forward. So she's really keen to make sure she does that. And again, she's willing to pay. Discreet, high quality products, anything that fits into professional environments without drawing a huge amount of attention is exactly what she's looking for. Evidence-based premium solutions and early intervention alerts. So again, something that understands her lifestyle, something that understands her physiological makeup so that she can prepare before they begin to impact her too deeply. And the things that, as I mentioned, cognitive decline, sleep, physical impact, those are the core areas that will be impacting her that she'll be really looking to manage. Now, what that looks like from a product and services perspective, we're looking at precision supplementation and nutrition systems, executive grade wearables, menopause performance coaching. So that is a physical one-to-one coaching that you have with specific individuals using all your biomarker data and your behavioral patterns to make sure that you are given actionable insights that you can execute at work to really make sure that she's not being impacted by these things. And it's not about masking the fact that you're going through the menopause. It's not that. It's just that she wants to be able to manage it in a way that allows her to live her life as she's been doing. Some of the structural developments that we can look at. So we've talked about supporting aging women through the workforce, through flexible working, through other engagement opportunities. And if you look at the wisdom workforce, you'll see a lot more there. For her, what she wants is she wants to continue to work, and she needs solutions in the workplace that help support her. Looking at employers, insurers, integrating leadership development platforms that enable her to continue to grow and develop as she goes forward. Also, allowing her to use her expertise to mentor a younger generation that are going through. And how you treat your high performer, how you treat these individuals will be seen by all the other women in your business as well. So making sure that you do give her the tools that she needs to make will impact your retention policies elsewhere as well. Looking at different corporate benefits where diagnostics and digital health tools, specialist telemedicine and personalized plans can all be engaged with as well is going to be incredibly important. We'll start seeing menopause benefits in the same way that fertility benefits really became a key talent acquisition and retention tool. We'll start to see that through menopause benefits as well. Also making sure that she has private channels for symptom tracking, consultations and interventions. This is something that she wants to manage discreetly at work. There will be women who are really happy to shout about their experiences and be advocates for menopausal experiences in the workplace. The high performer's not that. She's got other things to do while she's at work, and it's not talk about her health. So making sure that we build performance-focused midlife solutions is going to be incredibly important for our high performer.
Thanks, Anna. We've now covered the first 3 out of 5 menopause types. Everyone, tune back in for part 2, where we pick up with the postmenopausal visionary, the uninformed endurer, and some genuinely surprising insights on climate change, VC funding, and why Anna schedules her business pitches around her menstrual cycle.
Thank you for joining me on this transformative journey. Your presence in this community is truly valued. Now, you may not realize it, but your words hold immense power. They have the ability to reach others who may benefit greatly from the wisdom shared here. If you found value in what you heard, I kindly ask you to take a moment to subscribe to Biohacking Eve, leave a glowing review on your preferred podcast platform, and share Biohacking Eve with your friends and family. Your support helps spread the message of health optimization for women far and wide. Lastly, I want to express my gratitude to you for investing in yourself. By prioritizing your well-being, you serve as an inspiration to others. I'm eagerly looking forward to bringing you many more exciting episodes, and thank you for being a vital part of our community. Live long and prosper, my friends. The Biohacking Eve Health Optimization for Women podcast is for general informational purposes only and does not constitute the practice of medicine, nursing, or other professional healthcare services, including the giving of medical advice, and no doctor-patient relationship is formed. The use of information on this podcast or materials linked from this podcast is at the user's own risk. The content of this podcast is not intended to be substituted for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Users should not disregard or delay obtaining medical advice for any medical condition they may have and should seek the assistance of the healthcare professionals for any such conditions. In addition, the information on this podcast does not constitute investment or financial advice.